how do you think about kind of knowledge versus data?
Data is important, but storytelling is more important. Storytelling is what's going to connect with people, and storytelling is ultimately what people are going to remember versus the data. I can guarantee everyone's got responses to emails in their inbox where they've answered a question. That customer is probably not the first time that question has been asked, and that is a great starting point for creating content on your website, on your social media. I read some data recently that really 5% of your target audience is probably somewhere in that buying decision stage. Only 5%. So you need to make sure that you're continuing to add value to that other 95% of your target audience so that when it is time for them to make that buying decision, you are top of mind. You've already proven that you're the best resource for them.
Today's guest is Lori Highby. She's one of the voices behind this amazing podcast called A Broadcast for Manufacturers, also called ABFM. I love the pun on broad. It's intentional, absolutely on brand for the amazing women in this podcast. It's such a fun listen for me personally. In her day job, Lori's agency called Keystone Click is on this mission to help manufacturers do marketing differently. Not louder, not trendier, but smarter. She brings this sharp perspective, deep industry knowledge, and just the right amount of challenge to how manufacturers think about their brand, their message, their customers, their product. I love digging into this world of marketing with Lori, from strategy to storytelling and everything in between. Enjoy the conversation. Let's start, Lori, by just an understanding, like how did you venture into this B2B complex world of manufacturing and consulting? And you have your own podcast too, right?
Yeah, sure. Great question. How I got started. My dad was in manufacturing. So I grew up visiting the tool and die shops and seeing how things were made. And it was always just so neat to go and see the CNC machine that he was working on that was drilling holes or whatever it was. And I was just, even from a little kid, just fascinated by how things were made. And, living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, very blue collar, very industrial community, and working at two other advertising and marketing firms before starting my own, we always had manufacturing clients. So one of my favorite things to do is tour a facility and see how things are getting made. And with my magic in the marketing world, digital marketing specifically, I noticed a trend amongst a lot of manufacturers. They're doing amazing things, but doing an absolutely poor job at telling that story to the world. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. It's helping manufacturers tell the story about the awesome work that they're doing in order to help them, attract the right fit types of clients and customers for their organization. The podcast that I co-host with two other gals. We call it a broadcast for manufacturers.
Pun intended.
Yep, two broads talking broadly about manufacturing. So something we're passionate about, and lots of different conversations. And we like to push the comfort zone on some topics occasionally. So especially being women in manufacturing is outside of the norm already.
I have 4 daughters, so I'm very passionate about, especially as I talk to them, what, how to best leave your mark as a human first, of course. But 2 of them have ventured into this side of manufacturing and distribution with me so far. And I just always have kind of a passion of learning more about, especially just watching how they can be extremely successful, especially being entrepreneurial. Manufacturers and marketing is not exactly a tight-fitting puzzle piece, right?
Not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's a better description. A lot of manufacturers actually look at marketing as not real marketing. They kind of look at rebate programs and channel marketing and things like that. Can you tell me first like how you would even describe what marketing looks like inside of a manufacturer?
Yeah, great setup and question here. So there there's a client that we worked with, again, a tool and die shop. Actually, they did custom tooling. So they made the tools that would ultimately, other tool and die shops would be using. And they're really well known in the Wisconsin market, and they've been around for 40 plus years, and they went to a trade show in Iowa, a neighboring state, right? And the comment he said to me was, nobody knows who we are. Well, that's marketing's job, which is first and foremost brand awareness. It's letting the world know that you exist and that you solve problems. And it's getting clear on what specifically those problems are that you're able to solve, so that when someone raises their hand and says, this is the problem I have, your name should be the first name that comes up if you are the solution provider to that specific problem. And then the next phase of marketing is that lead gen component. And I think the big challenge that I hear a lot of manufacturers think is that marketing should equal sales. And it doesn't always do that. Marketing is letting the world know that you exist and you have a solution to a very specific type of problem. And that's, again, brand awareness, which could then ultimately convert to leads. But then that's where it transfers to the sales team to close the deal. So, but marketing can be involved in nurturing your current customers as well, and reminding them that you exist and reminding them of your offerings, because we all know we've got shiny objects coming from all different directions. Our inboxes are full. Social media ads are coming from all different perspectives, but it's hitting the right message at the right time in front of that ideal customer. And that's what marketing's job is to do.
How do you deal with I would consider myself a marketer. I don't think I'm good at helping other people market, but I consider myself a marketer of us and me. And what I know is it takes time. Like it takes often a lot of time. It's a long play, not a short play. There's maybe short wins you can get, but so often the real benefits happen a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road. How do you communicate that to your customers, and how do you make sure that they kind of understand and more so buy into the fact that this is a long play? Do you agree it's a long play?
Oh, 100%. It's a long play. To do it right is a long play. And that's a big argument that I have too, because a lot of assumptions are made in that, now I'm paying for marketing, so this light switch turned on and I should get a bunch of new business. And that's not the reality. We have to think about our own experiences as buyers. And if there's an ad that's put in front of you for a brand I've never heard of before, I'm not going to immediately make that purchase. There's a level of trust that needs to be established and developed. And that trust is really focused around adding value and really showcasing that you are an expert, you have insights to share, you have experience and proof that you can do this thing. And that's a long story to tell, and it takes time to establish that trust. If you think of a brand that you're loyal to or you're passionate about, you didn't just magically wake up one day and become, obsessed with this brand. It took time for you to have this established trust in your mind that this is a brand that you're always going to buy and purchase. So I'm a big fan of Apple. I've had an iPhone for goodness, who knows how long I've had it. I'm not even going to think about that. I have Mac products, for all of my computers. And this is built over time. This trust has been built over time. It wasn't, if there's a brand new phone or a brand new computer that comes out, it's going to take a long time for me to establish, for that trust to be established for me to make that purchase. So in the manufacturing world, it's the same thing. There has to be trust that says you can do the thing that I need you to do. You're an expert at it, and I want to see the proof that you've actually done this for someone else before. And I'd say that last part is probably more important today than it's ever been. And that's a long game. It's a long cycle, especially a major purchase or a major investment that's being made. And more times than not, in the manufacturing world, you already have an established vendor partnership and something went significantly wrong, and that's why you're looking to find a new partner to work with. That is a long decision to make for someone to be in such a world of hurt that they're making this change with that partner. But you have to prove that trust because they've been burned by someone else too, typically.
So one thing that I think that I kind of struggle with this, and when I talk to manufacturers, is what is the balance of marketing for manufacturers in the channel, the distributors that sell their products and actually the ones that are buying it, but then the end customers that are pulling that product through the channel, and those that are ultimately making the decision of buying their products from distribution. How do you see the balance between the two, or the split between those two?
I think it's going to be different with every single customer that we work with. I mean, we have to really understand, is it the end user at the end of the day that's creating that demand, or is it the distribution channel that's creating that demand? We were just meeting with a client yesterday that this was the exact conversation where we learned it's the end user that is ultimately creating the demand for the machine part ultimately. But the goal that we're working on right now is to educate the distribution channel and be advocates within the distribution channel to also create awareness, so that when the end user is creating the demand, there's less reservation for the distribution channel to kind of provide, get it in the supply chain and move the product faster at the end of the day. So I think there's a balance of the communication and advocacy needs to happen on both the end user and the distribution channel side, but it's going to be different, across every business is set up differently. Their distribution channels are set up differently. So it's really understanding the nuances of what's important to your target customer, what are the pains that they have that ultimately you're able to solve for.
How do you talk to executive teams? So often what happens, I think this is very related to e-com at the same time. It's like, hey, we need e-commerce. It's a kind of a requirement in the middle of the company. Yeah, there's budget that happens at the top of the company, but it's never strategic until it reaches the executive team and they understand it, they believe in it, and then they're able to, apply resources and budget. How do you talk to CEOs, or maybe start with the idea of how is marketing perceived kind of across the board? And I know you deal with all kinds, but in general, how is it kind of increasing in exposure as marketing is a need inside of a manufacturer versus just a want?
Yeah, I think, at this moment. I mean, an observation that I've had, and this is a constant hurdle that I've jumped over, especially in the digital ecosystem, is that manufacturing in general is familiar with a tangible product, and there's no reservation on investing $500,000 in a new machine and get it up and running and building product. But there's a lot of hesitation on investing dollars where you can't actually touch and feel the outcome. So it's a lot of education about understanding the customer journey, which is changing today. I mean, it's been changing, and digital transformation is extremely important for every business, not just manufacturing, but understanding that today's buyer starts their research online, and that's part of building that trust, is making sure that you're at that front part of that customer journey and helping to prove and answer the challenges or the problems that are being faced. And that's all education. And then really it's just thinking about your own personal experiences when it comes to making a major investment in your personal or professional life. You start with research. You start looking at, what this is the problem. These are my options. What other experiences have people had with this? Are they is it positive outcomes? Are they unhappy with it? Okay, now I'm going to reach out and call someone and do some further Q&A, and then I'm going to make a buying decision. And you want to make sure that you're showing up at every single stage, and that's how you end up building trust. And this is a very condensed story that I'm typically telling. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of education because, old school manufacturing sales was dropping donuts off at the office, shaking hands, showing up at the trade shows. And those days are far and few between now.
You talked a little bit about that customer journey. How has this been shifting and changing, especially? I mean, I used to speak about how, millennials are coming, right? And now they're here. That's a little bit of an outdated message here. And now we have Gen Z. How has that journey starting to shape, and what are kind of the core differences that you're seeing today versus 5-10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say first and foremost, it's leveraging information online, and it's not even going to Google anymore. It's going to ChatGPT and Claude and all these other AI platforms, because they're just using these tools to conduct their research that I was talking about. I mean, a lot of the evolution of these AI tools has been really research focused. And if someone's got a problem, they're going to go to the tools, these AI platforms, to try to understand potential solutions. And again, this is where you need to show up as that expert. And the way you do that is making sure your site's properly optimized for AI. But these AI tools are going to drive to your website. That's why the blog content is really, really valuable. Having videos and podcasts and this type of educational content is ultimately what's going to make sure that you're going to stand out compared to your competitors when someone starts searching for that pain that they have. They don't necessarily know the solution to the problem yet. So talking about the solution isn't going to get you found. It's talking about the problem and that you understand how to solve that problem. That's how you're going to get found online.
I remember talking to a CEO of a distributor, and they said, they came with their issues and problems, and we were talking about all kinds of things, content and marketing and e-commerce, more on the e-commerce side. But the conversation came up about a blog, and he was like, I don't know how we can pull that off or why we should do it, and just a long conversation. And I asked him, just by chance, like, how did you find me? Mm-hmm. He said, well, I was somewhere and saw a blog, and I read your blog, and it resonated with me that you actually understood that. I said,
did you hear what you just said?
Don't you find that a little bit ironic? I said, I didn't know how you found me, but I had a feeling.
Yeah.
And So I want to come back to the ChatGPT stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. But on this idea of content, I mean, it's so foreign for a manufacturer to think about this versus like sales sheets, no problem.
Yep.
Right? They'll think sales sheets all day long.
Mm-hmm.
How on earth do you get them into a muscle of creating content?
It is extremely challenging. I can promise you that, because there's a lot of this is the way we've always done it mentality in the manufacturing space. And I'm sorry to be blunt, but this is just what I'm observing.
Yeah.
And here's the new machine we bought, right? Like that's the kind of content they want to promote, which is great. But at the end of the day, they don't care about what the solution is. They care about, can you solve my problem? That is all that matters. And can you do it on time and on budget, and high quality? All those boxes need to be checked, obviously, too. But when it comes to content, the easiest starting point is to think about the questions that you are asked. I can guarantee everyone's got responses to emails in their inbox where they've answered a question. That customer is probably not the first time that question has been asked, and that is great starting point for creating content on your website, on your social media, in the form of a video, whatever it is. But it's always thinking about those FAQs or the big questions. And an exercise that we like to put our clients through is to pick, what is your core offering, your core deliverable, and think about all of the what questions, all the why questions, all the when, all the who, all the yes, no questions. And then you've got about 100 different pieces of content that you can create by simply picking one product or one service offering and going through that little exercise, and even just asking everyone on your team, from the shipping person, the customer service person, what are the questions that they are asked? All of that content throughout the entire customer journey, from here's the challenge I have to I've been buying from you for 5 years now. They are still asking questions, right? So in the question answer approach, which has always been good for Google, is going to be even more important for AI. Because again, people are going to AI to figure out a solution to a problem that they're experiencing. And people are typing in questions. They're not just typing in 2 or 3 keywords like they are in Google. AI has trained users basically to formulate full conversations. So you have to think about that with the type of content that you're creating. I want to circle on that blog post real quick because I've been the biggest advocate
please.
of blogs forever, and I get a lot of pushback. Oh, we don't have time. It's not worth it. What's the ROI of a blog post? Yada yada yada. I've had all of those questions. We have a blog post that was written on our site, I want to say 12 years ago now, and it is still one of the top 10 visited pages on our website. So the 3 to 4 hours that I had a team member, take to craft that really valuable, informative piece of content has still been one of the top most visited pages 12 years after the fact. So the investment on that is bringing awesome traffic to our website because it was a very thoughtful, well-crafted piece of content that adds value to our community.
What was the topic?
It was about the open loop concept in marketing, like always bringing people back. So if you think about Netflix, right at the end of an episode, the next one is starting, or there's a cliffhanger in a series, like you want to watch the next episode because there's something. So the idea is like there's always this open loop, and you always want people coming back for more.
I think you were, when you kind of talked about writing a blog for the customer, I think in the e-commerce world we have this kind of constant struggle. I think website development in general, we tend to think about how do we tell our story when it needs to be how do we fit ourselves into our customer story, right? And so often it becomes all about us. So our website's like our history about us. Like nobody cares about that until they've built a relationship with you and trust and all that, right?
Yep.
Nobody cares that you were, started in 1912, right?
Yep.
And yet we tend to write and think and build things that are all about us and not for the customer. And so much of B2C, the beauty of B2C is helping customers see themselves in that product, right?
100%.
That's the magic of B2C. And we can do the same thing in B2B. And so that really resonated with me. How do you so much of manufacturing is data, right? Product data, specs of something. And something you said around ChatGPT is, and the type of questions you were asking were more about the knowledge of the product versus just what makes up the material, the height, depth, width, of the product itself. How do you think about kind of knowledge versus data?
I think it's a mix of the two. The data is important, but storytelling is more important. Storytelling is what's going to connect with people, and storytelling is ultimately what people are going to remember versus the data. If you can capture someone's attention with the storytelling that has the data infused in it, you're going to hold them longer than if you're just spitting out data points. Again, a lot of manufacturers love to share, this is the machine we have and this is its capabilities. It can do 3 tons of whatever, or, whatever. That's great, but that's the same message that, 10 other companies are saying. If you have a story behind the process or the way you helped someone else solve this major problem that they have, that's going to resonate better, and that's going to pull them in to want you to help them solve their problem that they have. That's what it comes down to. People have problems and they're looking for solutions. You're going to capture them by sharing that you've done it for someone else before, not the fact that you've got this expensive piece of equipment.
Often when I hear people kind of talk bad about marketing, they always talk about one-off things that they've done. How do you think about programs versus kind of events or one-time thing? I went to that event once. I wrote a blog once. I did a video. I opened up Instagram once.
I love that. And I have a standard answer for this, actually. If I just went to the gym once, I'm not going to walk away with 6-pack abs. I need to be consistent to maintain my personal health goals. And it's the same thing with marketing. If you want results, you have to be consistent in those activities that you're doing, again, to build that brand awareness, to build that trust, to ultimately capture someone at the point in time where they are interested in learning more about their services. Just because you're pushing information out there, that doesn't mean that your ideal customer is ready to buy. I read some data recently that really 5% of your target audience is probably somewhere in that buying decision stage. Only 5%. So you need to make sure that you're continuing to add value to that other 95% of your target audience so that when it is time for them to make that buying decision, you are top of mind. You've already proven that you're the best resource for them, and there's minimal reservation for them to move forward working with you. But that takes time, and that's being consistent. It's not a one and done game. It's a long game. It's a long strategy for sure.
I can't tell you how many times I've personally had someone say, I've watched your stuff for 10 years, or I've been reading your stuff for, 8 years. But last week I had this specific problem and I knew you could help, right? So marketing was working all along, and then it was the right, you said it, it's the right time. It was the right time. The problem kind of showed its face at that time, and then the marketing comes in that they now remember what we're doing. And so, I mean, I actually think it's fascinating. I'm curious on your thoughts on this. Most of marketing is memory. It's not experience. It's not a customer experience that matters. It's the memory of the customer experience that matters, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So much of memory.
Well, yeah. I actually never really thought about it that way, but it is. It's someone else's experience, which is ultimately a memory, right? So it's
that's right.
It's or someone's personal experience, like, oh yeah, I've been watching Justin's podcast forever, and like there's amazing content that continues to show up. So when my pain is so heavy that I'm confident he can solve my problem. But it's because of the consistency and the high value content, and you've proven that you are a trusted resource.
I guess part of the memory thing is if I've seen a bunch of irrelevant information for a long period, I could have seen something 10 times, but it was irrelevant, right? It was all about them. It didn't really speak to a problem I had. It won't be in my memory because it just doesn't, it's not relevant,
sure.
Right?
Yep.
When something kind of jogs in my memory, oh, that's a problem that I have. Not that I'm going to solve it today, but it's a problem I have. I tend to remember it. Your comment about storytelling, I mean, I think you said it even, that storytelling is important. If you can embed data in the storytelling, then people remember the story and the data. I just think that's a pretty interesting thing. I always think about like the Amazon experience, that I don't actually remember the Amazon experience. Everybody says the Amazon experience is amazing. I don't remember my last purchase on Amazon. I can tell you I remember two things. I remember I clicked the button and the product showed up.
Yeah.
Like that's what I remember.
Streamlined.
I don't remember finding it. I don't remember looking at the image. I remember I hit the button. It was a one click, buy now, and then the product shows up. And it's the memory of that experience that matters so much. And speaking of memory, bad transition, but I think, we've watched over the last, especially the last, 2 months, search traffic move away from Google to chat. And I know that's something you're really passionate about doing. Tell us how to think about that move away from Google to chat and what we can be doing to at least be able to track this trend and figure out how we're going to deal with it ourselves.
Yeah, this is something that's really important, and I don't think people are paying enough attention to it. And I personally am struggling with the educational component of this because I'm still teaching people about why Google was important, right?
That's right.
But, Google, I just heard on a podcast, I don't have the exact source of this, but I heard it this morning while I was in the car. Google is now offering basically severance packages to their search team for early retirement because they're anticipating a significant downsize in needing anything on their search team, knowing what's happening with AI. That in and of itself should tell people that if Google's making these massive changes, you need to be making changes to really focus on what's happening with AI. So when it comes to that whole customer journey, it's making sure that the AI platforms can find your website and cite you as a source to the information that it's providing. So we've built an AI optimization audit, and the domain is cleverly aioptimizationaudit.com, where you can get there's a free
Good for Google.
a free report and a paid report. The free report is only going to look at Perplexity. The paid is looking at Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. Basically, what it's an AI agent that we built, and it's going to go first look at your website and make assumptions about who your target audience is and how they would ultimately be using the AI platforms to search for, which should be your company. And then it's going to go to these AI platforms. So the free one, it's going to Perplexity, and it's going to create the role of your ideal customer, basically, and then enter in these different types of search queries or prompts and basically figure out who's showing up. Are you showing up? Is your competitor showing up? And give you some ideas on what changes you need to make to your website as far as types of content. Maybe it's a technical structure of your site, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're showing up and it's not your competitors when your ideal customer is leveraging AI tools to do their research.
What are you seeing as you do that?
It's really interesting because I get a copy of every report that's pulled. And I've been looking, and some companies, their site looks beautiful, but they have zero results. There's nothing showing up. They have zero exposure in AI. And that's more either the depth of the content or the technical structure of the site. But then we've got some clients that it's about 56% exposure. So that's basically saying that we created like 3 potential personas, and we mapped out about 8 different questions each persona could potentially enter in, and you showed up 50% of the time as a result. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. That number isn't very often, but I have seen it in 2 reports so far. It's more on the anywhere between, I'd say, 0 and 5% is basically the trend that I'm seeing right now.
What do they do with that? So let's say they, I'm sure even you can get down to the product and SKU level and things like that start to matter for a manufacturer. Like for those that have some significant improvement that's needed and they feel like they are a top category product that should be shown as a solution, what do companies start thinking about doing in result of that?
Well, I would look at how your site is set up. So AI optimization is going to be there's a lot of similarities with search engine optimization. And I've been doing SEO since the early 2000s, and even though there's been lots of changes over the years, the core principles still are there, right? You need to have a technically sound site that is easy for the spiders to crawl, but now it's really making sure that the LLMs, the AI tools, know how to access your site. And really the schema markup of your site is going to be more important than anything else. But you got to make sure it's accessible. So having gated content is not going to help you. I feel like gated content is kind of going to slowly die away because you want to prove your expertise and you want your brand name associated with the valuable information that people are searching for, because it's out there. There's no more secret recipes. It's out there. You just want to make sure it's your brand that is associated with the secret recipe, the non-secret secret recipe. And then it's making sure that you have that valuable content. It's answering those queries. It's proving that you can do this, and it's having a unique story to tell. That's the other important factor here. You want to make sure that you don't sound like every other company that's out there, because then that's just kind of adding to the boring, dull AI-generated content. And it goes back to that storytelling. You have unique case studies. You have a unique process. That's the type of stuff you want to share, and that's what's going to get attracted by these different LLMs.
I have a feeling, Lori, that there are a lot of companies out there that feel like they missed the Google boat. So a lot of companies printed money at different times on the internet, right? Yep. Printed money off of email, printed money off of Google, printed money off of YouTube, printed money off of advertising on Facebook, printed money in eCommerce. And some companies that really kind of got in early, understood it, leveraged it, they were able to literally just print money off the backs of this. And I have a feeling that after seeing those trends over and over again, that this one people might actually want to say, okay, we want to get in early, not late on this trend, because it's so obvious that it's moving to these, LLMs and AI tools.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I would say, AI in general is still very much in the early adopter stage. And the more I speak about it, I see more and more hands being raised when I say how many of you use AI. But then I'm learning the types of questions that I'm getting really tell me that they're very, very, very entry level on their AI usage. But I imagine this is going to continue to grow and everyone's going to continue to learn. So now is an optimal time to really make sure that you are setting your business and your website and your brand up for success when it comes to the AI search game.
That's amazing. Lori, how do people get a hold of you and talk to you?
Sure. Great question. I'm very active on LinkedIn, just Lori Highby. Otherwise, KeystoneClick.com is our website for our business. And you can check out the AIoptimizationaudit.com to run your free report.
Which is good for Google. That URL is good for Google. Mm-hmm. Will it be good for ChatGPT? We don't know yet.
Crossing fingers.
Lori, thank you so much for being on. Appreciate. We definitely want to have you back and go in a little deeper into some of these topics.
Cool.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. This was fun.
Thank you.
Manufacturers, distributors, leaders in the zone. If you're building B2B, this the podcast throne. The industry's heartbeat, we're setting the tone. Turn insights to actions, it's how empires are grown. We're talking change management, breaking resistance. Strategies so sharp, they redefine persistence. Customer adoption, it's more than retention. It's building a movement, commanding attention. It's the B2B e-commerce show, where the vision is clear and the strategies glow. From the top of the globe, we're the pros who know. Turn the volume up loud, it's time to grow. We bring news, big topics, insights to spark. From the boardroom's glow to the warehouse dark. Digital transformations, the path we're paving. Helping you lead through the change you're facing. This is more than a podcast, it's the industry's voice. Giving you the tools to make the right choice. No fluff, just facts, no hype, just action. The show where solutions are more than a fraction. It's the B2B e-commerce show, where the vision is clear and the strategies glow. From the top of the globe, we're the pros who know. Turn the volume up loud, it's time to grow.
This is your guide to the digital race. Practical advice, no time to waste. So tune in, gear up, and let's own the space. It's the B2B e-commerce show, the industry's base.